This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens, capture.
MCU movie fans, Marvel fans everywhere, Spiderman Homecoming fans. What's up, everybody? It's your host T-Will and my guy Jordan Burton. Jordan, how you doing tonight, buddy? All well? So, Jordan, how goes it today, bud? You all right? Everything going well?
I'm coming over being sick, but I might lose my voice occasionally during this, but I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I can't complain. Wouldn't matter if I did. All is well. We've been out of commission for a while, buddy, so I'm glad to get back to it, man. Today we're talking about, I know one of your personal favorites, Spider-Man Homecoming. I know how super excited you were and are to talk about it, but wow, went back and watched it a couple times, and I think they really got this right. I like the Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I like the Spider-Man with what's
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. I wanted to call him Andrew McCarthy for some reason, but I like the one with Andrew Garfield. But I really feel like this is the perfect Peter Parker story. It's not really an origin story, so to speak, but it is as close to the spirit of Peter Parker as I've seen in a movie that is not in a live action production. It is as close to high school Peter Parker, immature, just getting his powers, just becoming your neighborhood Spider-Man, trying to work some stuff out, yearling Peter Parker. This is almost akin to a Batman Year One, the animated feature. And of course, Batman is not Spider-Man, but I'm saying within reason, they are akin to each other. I think that first and foremost, what a performance by who's our guy that's Spider-Man?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. What a performance. What a performance. I don't know that there's a Peter Parker. I'm sorry, guys. Everything in the world is like being thrown at Jordan and I right now. That was a phone call from one of my friends on Facebook. I don't guys are doing a podcast. Jesus. Anyway. Oh gosh. Wow. Sorry.
One of those days.
It is one of those days. But no, so we pick up. This is just after Civil War, and Peter Parker's a high school kid, and he's newly anointed with Tony Stark's suit, Spider-Man suit, and he's trying to make good use of it. He's got his instructions, hey man, I want you to work the low-level stuff, Peter Parker. Just work the low-level stuff, and if you have any questions, then you call Iron Man's guy. What's his name?
Happy Hogan.
Happy. You call Happy if you have any issues, and yeah, we'll do it. And Peter is trying to find his way. The first sequence is so funny when he sees this guy trying to break into a car, and it's his own car. And they're like, that's his car. Why are you bothering him? I got to go to sleep, you idiot. And one of the greatest Stan Lee. So this was really a funny Stan Lee. He's like, hey, Don't make me come down there, you punk. And it was funny. And then he sees somebody. He's like, "Hi, Martha. How's your mom?" That was funny. Like I enjoyed that. But yeah, it's Peter's trying to find his way as the neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's such a kind young man. He's a baby. He's like 15. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I just, to me, his performance, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, this is the most authentic and organic Peter Parker that I've seen. Give me your thoughts on just that, Jordan. Your thoughts on Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Yeah. Well, look, when I first saw him in Civil War, I was like, all right, this is like they're aiming for a comic accurate Spider-Man. Peter Parker, that is. Because that was the one issue I think with Spider-Man. There's some people that were like, oh, Tobey Maguire is too old to be playing Spider-Man. I thought Tobey Maguire was fine personally. But I think in the 2000s and late 90s, they tend to cast, and I would say the 80s, 90s, and 2000s tended to cast people that were older playing high schoolers. I don't know why that was the case. It was only until like the late 2000s where Hollywood was like, maybe we should start casting people based off the age instead of just whether they're a good actor or not, because that's how you find good young actors, is by doing that. So, you know, they went with Tobey Maguire, which, I mean, that was a comic accurate Peter Parker in terms of the portrayal, not necessarily the age. Right. And Andrew Garfield was definitely not a comic accurate Peter Parker. That was more of a skater boy. It was definitely very 2010s, early 2010s in terms of the style, that skateboarder dude type of he's like quick-witted and smart. And that's kind of what they were aiming for with Andrew Garfield. But with Tom Holland's, we were actually aiming for someone that is around the age of Peter Parker and can, grow into this role. And I mean, when I saw him in Civil War, when I got done in Civil War, I was like, okay, I like what I saw, but I want to see more. I want to see him in his own film.
Right.
And I thought, to this day, even through every film since, that he is the most comic accurate Peter Parker.
Yes.
And I think I think he's the definitive Spider-Man. He's not my favorite,
right?
But he's the definitive Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's the definitive Peter Parker. He's the definitive Spider-Man. He's the best of both worlds. He's able to do everything. And now with Brand New Day, any haters that he had really had to do with, he kept getting help from the Avengers and Tony Stark. And with No Way Home and Brand New Day, it seems like that has canceled out all the haters. That was because with Brand New Day, I mean, he's going to be on his own, and he's got his own suit that he's made. And that was the one issue I had with this portrayal of Peter Parker. I always felt like he had a crutch with him, with just the Avengers and just all the Avengers' other characters. It just felt like he was held back from being the definitive Spider-Man. And I felt that with No Way Home. With No Way Home, I felt like that's when I believed that this guy was the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, but Tom Holland has nailed it. And with Homecoming, he's quick-witted. That's exactly what I want out of Peter Parker. He's very innocent in this movie.
Yes.
And that's what I love about this movie is that, I mean, even in the title Homecoming, it's really just shows where Peter Parker is at in life and that he needs to grow up. And that's why I like Michael Keaton's Vulture for this film as a villain, because I think it allowed Peter to grow up and realize the world is not a nice place.
Agreed.
And he needs to grow up fast.
Agreed.
So this was a great a great start. While it's not an origin story, and I am a little mad at that, I truly respect this film a lot.
Well, tell us why you're mad at it. I mean, I know why, but there could be new viewers. Tell us why you don't like that there's not a bit of an origin to this movie, to this story. Just explain why. Give us your thought.
I believe that every version of a character, their origin stories are always different. I mean, I'll give you the prime number one example is every Batman ever.
Right.
You look at Michael Keaton / Val Kilmer / George Clooney's Batman, with his origin story being the Joker killing his parents, and robbing them. Then you look at like Adam West's Batman, very different story altogether. Then you have Christian Bale's Batman, which is he was afraid of bats, so that he had to hide from the opera, and they went into the alley, and that's when he got robbed by a gang member. Then you go with Ben Affleck's Batman, which just someone robbing. Like while it's the same story, face value, there's a lot of small details that lead to them all becoming very vastly different Batman.
That's true.
Even Robert Pattinson too. Robert Pattinson literally has the gun that killed his parents molded into the Batman symbol on his armor. So, like, all of the Batmen have different origin. While it's the same face value story, parents dying, they all went very differently and led them to being very different Batmen. So with Spider-Man, same thing. Andrew Garfield, we learned more about his parents. And a lot of what Andrew Garfield becoming Spider-Man had to do with his parents and the backstory behind them. If we didn't have the backstory of his parents, he would have never gone to the building and become Spider-Man and got bitten by that spider. Tobey Maguire was simply on a school trip, was a nerd, and wanted to get photos of Mary Jane, this girl, and he was nervous, so he's like, he wants to get photos, so he's more worried about the photos. Perfectly describes that. Peter Parker, too. And the spider just bites his hand. The big question I have to this very day is, how did Tom Holland's Spider-Man become Spider-Man?
Right.
I want to know, because look, why specifically did he design his original suit the way he designed it? Like, the reason that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man made that suit is because as he saw the red. So this is why I love the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire so much, because he designs the red because of Mary Jane's hair, and he designs the blue from her eyes, and that's how he comes up with the red and blue suit. And with Andrew Garfield, very different. He tested out different suits along the way, kind of like Deadpool did. Like, Deadpool and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man both tested out suits multiple times until they finally got something that was suited for them. I want to know, how did Tom Holland get that original suit with the glasses that are weird, that like Tony Stark makes fun of and stuff like that? Your mic is cut off. Your mic is cut off.
Sorry about that. Which is comic book accurate.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But like, to those who have never seen the comics,
Right.
You got to explain that to some people.
Right. That's
like,
not everyone. That's a fair point.
I like this movie a lot, but it's holding it. To me, it just feels like a Spider-Man 1.5.
do you think that maybe certain and we're getting into now corporations and
Yes.
the financial backing for these films. Do you think that they feel like maybe you can lose an audience in an origin story? Because you see a lot of this where, to your point, yeah, this was Spider-Man, but there was also an Avenger in this movie. So it's kind of like, okay, well, there's Spider-Man, but there's also an Avenger. You can't lose, right? I see a formula because you could say the same thing about the Hulk, right?
Mhm.
MCU Hulk, we really don't get an origin story because
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think what they've said is certain characters work well in combinations, right? So Hulk and Thor and Ragnarok was essentially, yes, part Ragnarok, but also World War Hulk, right? They kind of intertwine the two. And I agree with you. I think every iteration of, especially Spider-Man, like if you don't want to do that for certain characters, that's fine. But Spider-Man, who is arguably the face of Marvel, you
Mhm.
need an origin story. I agree, but I think sometimes these studios don't want to chance that, and they want to give you action, 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 and more bang for your buck. And oh, the origin stories have been done. We know how he got everybody knows how he got bitten. Blah 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 blah. And I think that's. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's the
Yeah.
thought process.
I and I don't like that studios are doing that because they did that for Robert Pattinson's Batman. They
Yep.
did that for DC's been doing it a lot lately. They did that for the new Superman. And James Gunn specifically said, "We know the story. Do we? Do we really?
Right.
Because all Supermen are also very different.
Right.
Like in terms of how they got their suit, what they're wearing in their suit, it's very different because we see a different face, meaning there's a different backstory behind it. If
Right.
it was the same story, then as an audience, we might feel like they're generally connected with like Christopher Reeve's Superman
Yeah.
because it is the same story, but it really isn't. There's always going to be something different, which leads to a domino effect of him being a different version of Superman. And I no, it's studios that are just saying like, yeah, we know audiences are tired of it. How do you know audiences are tired of it?
Yeah. I
Because
think they're just looking at money. I think
look
they're honestly just looking at money, and
and
they to be honest, Jordan, they may have. And I'm not saying I know this to be true. I'm just throwing this out here. You and I love baseball. You and I love
yeah,
sports. We love movies. We got that in
yeah.
common. In baseball, analytics is king, right? So what if there's this metric that says, movies with an origin story lose 10, 5, whatever percentage of audiences, whereas, movies where you just pick up and go, I don't know, but I would imagine it may be something like that. I agree with you. I'm a fan of theater. I'm a fan of books. Every hero needs an origin story, even if it's a different iteration, because this is the director and the writer's version of this character. And just like the comics, they're different iterations of Spider-Man. They're different iterations of Daredevil. Hell, they're different iterations of Batman. In Frank Miller's Batman, woe be unto the soul who gets on the wrong side of him. Because if you piss him off, he will kill you. Let me be clear. I know most Batmen do not kill. Frank Miller, he does. Okay? With no hesitation. Okay? So
And
go ahead.
one thing I do want to point out, and I saw this on Twitter, and I'm like, it might be right. I think we've gotten to the point that Spider-Man might be the single greatest fictional character of all time. In terms of, he might be the most popular, I should say,
Okay.
fictional character of all time. Like I mean, most people are going to say Mickey Mouse. I mean, yeah. But we are now at a point where people are growing up. There are multiple iterations of Spider-Man. Now, no matter what you look like, no matter what race, ethnicity, gender you grow up and you look like, you have a spider person to look at. Whether that's Spider-Gwen, whether that's Miles Morales, whether that's Peter Parker, whether that's Ben Reilly, whether whoever that may be. And there's even fun ones. You have Spider-Pig. Yay. I don't care about that too much. But the new Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer almost doubled the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer views within a week. And it is now the most Spider-Man No Way Home was the most viewed trailer within a week. And it almost doubled. It actually did. No, it got more than doubled the views that Spider-Man No Way Home's trailer got. Do you know that's so incomprehensible? It's one thing to beat that record, but that's another thing to
double it.
More than double that.
Right.
And I mean it's to a point that it doesn't matter if you're a Marvel fan or you're just some random Joe Schmo. You know who Spider-Man is.
Right.
And that is, and we are now in a territory, especially like you look at like Mickey Mouse as a whole as a character. I compare it to Mickey Mouse because in my opinion, Mickey Mouse is the most popular character of all time.
I'd compare him to James Bond. But go ahead. I hear what you're saying.
Mickey Mouse, I say, because not only as a character, but as a general icon,
as a brand.
Like Mickey Mouse is a brand at this point. You think of Disney, you think of Mickey Mouse. That's true. I mean, everybody knows the Mickey Mouse ears with Disney World, Disneyland, and Mickey Mouse. Like even parody companies, when they talk about Disney, they bring up Mickey Mouse, and now everybody sees those ears and they know exactly. I could draw you 2 circles and a semicircle, and you know exactly who I'm talking about.
That's true.
That's where, but we are to a point now that what has Mickey Mouse really done in the last 25 years that now, I mean, outside of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which I grew up on really young.
Boys and girls.
And really Mickey Mouse as a character hasn't done too much in the last 20 years. And while during that time, Spider-Man has multiple billion-dollar movies. Spider-Man as a character has more billion-dollar movies than any other character has in their own solo films. That's so. I mean, we are to a point that Spider-Man might be the single greatest fictional character of all time. I think he's the most popular now in the world, but I don't think all time. I would put him on that Mount Rushmore with Mickey Mouse. That's pretty crazy to say.
You know what? I'm gonna throw that out there on the socials just to see what people say. But I'm gonna do some comparisons. But it's an interesting question. So I do want to see what people have to say. But back to Spider-Man. It was released July 17th, 2017, directed by John Watts. Marvel Studios released it in conjunction with Sony Pictures, which was very good. It was produced by Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal. I'm assuming Amy Pascal was with Sony, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yes, she was.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's pretty much what I figured. Main cast: Tom Holland is Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Michael Keaton plays Adrian Toomes and the Vulture. And I think Michael Keaton delivers a strong performance. The one thing about this antagonist that I agree with you, he is a great first villain for Peter Parker, Spider-Man to take on because he's very adept with his tools. You know what I mean? He's mature. You can tell this guy can just fight. He's a prodigious fighter. The wings don't make him. They just kind of add to who he is. First of all, he's very smart. He's very adaptable. and a very capable adversary. And to your point, Peter has to grow up really quick. And then, we'll get in all of that. But RDJ is Tony Stark, and hey man, RDJ is RDJ. He's brilliant in everything we see him in as Tony Stark. This is no different. Aunt May is Marissa Tomei.
Can we take a moment to talk about Marissa Tomei as Aunt May?
Let's do that.
A very different Aunt May. Let's make this very clear. When I saw the trailers, I was even confused at who that was. Because look, and I never really got it through my head until this Aunt May that, like, most of the time we look at our aunts, and our aunts aren't like looking like our grandparents when we're growing up.
Right.
But in the comics, Peter's aunt and Aunt May and Uncle Ben were very elderly.
Right. They look like grandparents.
So, which was very weird. It's weird in hindsight. But it never really went over all of our heads. And then we get, like, even Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is adaptable to the comics in terms of the Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Right.
Andrew Garfield's really tones it down a bit. But this is like a true aunt.
No,
like
this is hot Aunt May. I'll say what you want. What you want. This is hot Aunt May.
Okay, you'll say that. I will say that, like, in terms of an age gap, this is the right age gap that you should have with your aunt.
I'll say it like this: Miss Parker just don't know. Hey, Miss Parker. Hey, man. Hey, Aunt May is all right.
But they make that abundantly clear in this movie too, when she gets hit on quite a few times.
Unusually attractive aunt or something. So they kind of play into it, right?
And even when they're at the Chinese food place, I think it's a Chinese food place, and the waiter is like, it's on the house, and winks at her. But they keep going with it throughout this trilogy, and it's so crazy to me. Look, they knew exactly what they were doing when they casted Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. They knew exactly what they were doing. Very interesting take on the character.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
We're all here for it.
Yeah.
Look, Marissa.
I love you, Kim. Anyway,
Marissa Tomei is an unbelievable actress too.
She is.
And I while, in these first two movies, I did have an issue that she just felt like she was just there and very, like, almost like naggy in a way. But that No Way Home is where it really took a giant leap.
I didn't like the way why do that? She's young. She's young. Why do that now? She's the youngest Aunt May ever, and you kill her? Get out of here, man. I didn't like that. I didn't like.
It was a new spin. I liked it.
Hey,
it was different. You never expected it, did you? I didn't.
No, because it's stupid. No, why would you expect it? Why would you expect that? That spin can get the finger. I did not like it. Anyway, whatever. Marissa Tomei is wonderful. Zendaya as MJ.
Also very different.
Very much so. I like the way they played that, though. I like the way, because she secretly is obsessed with Peter, but she does it in a way that's so cool. Like, I mean, he just quit this team and quit that team. Not that I'm paying attention or anything, but but she knows everything about Peter, right?
And it's also not Mary Jane, it's Michelle Jones.
Right.
So completely just threw me for a loop. I was just like, MJ, okay, this is Mary Jane. And they're like, no, it's Michelle Jones. I was like, oh, okay. Different. Okay. I mean, I look, I don't care. I don't care at all that they race swapped Mary Jane. I just wish he did keep the name Mary Jane. I don't care. Like Michelle Jones, I'm just like, why do that? I'm like, okay, I don't. I'm like, why Michelle? Like, I don't know. Like, it's never been in the comics at all, and so it just felt out of character, or just I would rather them just called her Mary Jane, MJ, whatever. I don't know. That's besides the point. Also, it's so all right. I'm gonna show my romantic side here, my hopeless romantic side. I love watching this movie in hindsight, knowing that Zendaya and Tom Holland are now married. It's just so cute them interacting with one another. They weren't dating even during this movie, but this is when they first met. And it's so cute. Like every time they're just seeing them, I'm like, oh, they're married now. That's so cute. Anyways, that's besides the point. I love that.
This segment was brought to you by Hallmark. Okay. When you care enough to send the very best. No, I feel bad for Liz in this movie. Okay. Liz truly gets the short end of the stick because she really likes Peter Parker. And it just feels like the fates are not going to allow them to be together. Young Pete just can't figure out how to balance it. And let's be real, who could, right? You've just been imbued with the powers of Spider-Man and you're trying to get this girl's attention. But wait, there's this guy over here, the Vulture, who's a villain, who's got villainous, what's the word I'm looking for? Intentions. Okay. And you're trying to stop him. And dagnammit, he just always does it when you're trying to make time with his daughter, that was an interesting component. I rather liked it. I thought it was, kind
one of the greatest plot twists I've ever seen. It was the one time this entire saga that I truly was shocked. Yeah. Because it was something I never expected. I'm very comic book heavy on everything. So I'm watching this movie and that happens. And I've never been more shocked to this day watching anything Marvel.
Yeah. No, it was great. So the movie did about 880 million worldwide. Not bad for a debut. Not bad at all. And it was interesting. And there were a lot of comic book elements in it. So they took the storylines that they used was, I believe, from Ultimate Spider-Man. And they did use elements from the Vulture comic arts. And I guess they kind of merged the two. They do a lot. Anytime you see a Marvel movie, they typically are going to pull from more than one, or a Marvel TV series, whatever. But they will pull from more than one storyline. Typically, the movie and or TV series is an amalgamation of about maybe 2 or 3 storylines that they merge together. And this is no different. But it is a new twist in that it is street level crime meeting Avengers level leftovers. And that is very true. The movie opens with Michael Keaton's character, Adrian Toombs' company, who's doing the cleanup for the Avengers. And I'm glad, because I do have an issue with that. They're doing the cleanup for the Avengers event or whatever. And all of a sudden it's taken over by the government, probably because the government wants access to those weapons, right? They figure they can do it. But my thing is, and this is what didn't make sense to me, wouldn't that have been the first thing that they did? Like, let's think about it. This is the government. He never would have gotten that contract because the government would have been like, the military would have been like, no, we're going to do the cleanup. We're going to do the cleanup because we want access to those weapons. Because if for nothing else, the next time the aliens come back and they roll up to the club, which we know they will, what movie is that from, Jordan?
Voltron.
There you go, which we know that they will. They can't get in. And it's basically a built-in way to enhance your weaponry, right? So what military would, not just the U.S., any military across the world would have done this. That to me was kind of a weakness in the plot because he never would have had access to it. Now, if he's a part of some government contract already, you know what I mean, or a part of the military cleanup, and I could see it, but anyway, whatever. They show up, and it was so government like, because they're in the midst of cleaning up, and they're like, excuse me, I think the lady who plays the lead person with the government agency, I think her name she used to be on Cagney and Lacey. I think her name is Tyne Daly, or she may be the other one, but she used to be on Cagney and Lacey. But anyway, she comes in and she's like, excuse me, this is now under government property, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, I invested money in this. And what about my family? And some jerk next to her is like, well, I guess you should have thought about that. And blah, 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 blah. And he mocks him. And hey, man, Adrian decks the guy. Adrian's like, oh, yeah, I should have thought about my family, huh? Bam. And I loved it because he had that comment. He really did. Mm-hmm. And they decide, hey, okay, we got to leave. We got to leave the site. But they end up keeping some of the technology and the weapons. And during a discussion, they're like, well, hey, man, we should just, we should do something with these weapons. We should create something. And all of a sudden, Adrian Toomes has an idea. Oh, you see it. He has that moment. And the Vulture's born. Right. But he's born out of necessity. Look, this is a guy trying to take care of his family. He's invested a lot of money. Clearly, he's about to lose it. So he's trying to make lemons out of lemonade. Right. Give me your thoughts in the story on where we are thus far, Jordan.
Well, I do want to point out the biggest plot hole in Marvel history, right? When they segue from that beginning scene to present day, it says 8 years later, because that is wrong. And Kevin Feige has admitted it. Everybody has admitted it. This was Sony's decision, because Sony is just a bunch of monkeys clapping cymbals over there in the CEO room. Like, they're just morons. You ever see the Simpsons movie with Homer Simpson with the monkey clapping cymbals? That's in the heads of everybody over at Sony. All right, let me get my frustrations on Sony out of the way. I hate you with all of my life.
No, wait. I'm gonna
ruin my mic
of the show.
Last time I did this, I ruined my mic.
We don't want you to ruin your mic because we got like 30 million podcasts to do.
Yes.
But what we do want, Jordan, is we do want you to have your moment, damn it. And your moment you shall have. So the con is yours, Jordan. Go ahead.
Sony. You ruined Tobey Maguire's trilogy with Spider-Man 3. You interfered with one of the greatest directors of all time in Sam Raimi, and you ruined that movie. Then you thought, maybe we shouldn't do that again. So you let Mark Webb do The Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, that's fine. But then you interfered again, and then you did The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and you interfered a lot with that.
A lot.
Maybe keep your hands to yourself. Like, all right, Kevin Spacey, like, just do your own thing. Let the pros handle this, okay?
Hold our beer.
And it was to the point that you're like, okay, you did let the pros handle it. Following this movie, he didn't do jack. Far From Home, that was Disney and Marvel Studios. No Way Home, that definitely was Disney and Marvel Studios. And Brand New Day, I can tell you this right now, is Disney and Marvel Studios. You're keeping your hands to yourself. Congratulations. But that's also how you ruined your own Sony non-Spider-Man Spider-Man universe, which I don't even know how to even comprehend saying that out loud, where you had Venom, which, all right, you know what? Great idea for a movie. I don't care that it was an idea, but that was a good idea. And you know what? You made a solid trilogy. That was a solid trilogy. One of the most solid trilogies I've ever seen. It's not great. It's not bad. One of the most solid. And then you made Madam Web. What was that? Then you made Morbius. What was that? Then you made Craven. You know, I actually like Craven a lot more than most people, but still, what was that?
What are those?
Your Sony non-Spider-Man Spider-Man universe, which how else am I supposed to describe it?
I mean, Spider-Man wasn't said once. It was to the point you basically bleeped out Peter Parker and Madam Web. Madam Web was the single worst comic book movie I've ever seen in my life.
Ever.
Okay? The single worst thing I've ever seen. Dakota Johnson, I never want to see her in anything ever again. Okay? You ruined Sydney Sweeney. You ruined the girl who literally was in Transformers and played Dora the Explorer. I loved her. And you ruined, and you had a guy dubbing his lines. He would be like, and then I'm talking, and then I'm talking off screen, and then I'm talking off screen once again. And the words I'm saying are not matching my lips. Like, that was literally it the whole time with Madam Web. Okay. So the single worst plot hole in all of the MCU and all the MCU connected movies is this, because all you had to do was watch the movies. You clearly didn't watch the movies, because if you did, it's not like we're at right now. Like right now, we are like 18 years technically into the MCU timeline. Like it's technically like 2028 or something like that. And it started in 2010, technically. Like if you're going with the whole timeline order, it's very confusing. But like this was right after Civil War. Like all you had to say was like 6 years later or 5 years later. You said 8 years later. Like that's like around Infinity War. Like, what? Are you dumb? Did you watch the movies? You clearly didn't watch the movie.
Clearly they didn't watch the movie.
And Kevin Feige had to come out and be like, yeah, they're stupid. So don't listen to them. Listen to me. Even in the book, there's a book that describes the whole timeline of all of this. Even says it's wrong. They're like, and Sony hasn't done anything about it. There's sometimes I don't like when movies go back and re-edit things. Like they did that with the original Star Wars movies. They've done that before, like especially Return of the Jedi. They edited the original Anakin Skywalker actor to now be Hayden Christensen when you go back and watch Return of the Jedi. I'm not a huge fan of that. But this is the one time throughout human history I want them to literally go onto Disney Plus, literally cut out that scene, or just say 6 years later, cross it off, something. I don't know. Just literally do anything to change that, because it's stupid. It's dumb. And every time I try to, if I get the average person to watch all of these movies, they're going to get so confused when they're like, why does it say 8 years later? Because Sony's stupid. That's how I have to explain. Like, how else would you like me to explain to people why you're wrong? I mean, because what am I supposed to say? You're right, and that everybody else is wrong. Wrongo. You're dumb. And on to our regularly scheduled program.
It's the Mandela effect. You know what, Jordan? Thank you for that. That was awesome, sir. You're awesome, sir. That was great. Really enjoyed that very passionate discourse on the misapplication of the timeline by Sony. You know what? We're going to do it again. Yeah, one more time for the cheap seats. There we go. All right. Let's get back to it.
I hate Sony.
So, where the hell are we? Oh, yeah. So,
I didn't even get into the actual scene itself.
Let's get to the scene, buddy. Let's do it.
Yeah, like, all right. I like this because we are introduced to Vulture and Michael Keaton. And I mean, at this point, everybody knows who Michael Keaton is. Michael Keaton's a fantastic actor. So, like, when I heard he was going to play Vulture, a lot of people were like, Batman is playing a Marvel villain? That's cool. And so, yeah, a lot of people, when I heard Michael Keaton was playing the villain, they've had great actors play the villains of this whole Spider-Man trilogy. Like, which is making me, that's the one really concerning thing about Brand New Day, is that we
don't have a. I mean, we don't really know who the villain is, and normally it's a big time actor. It's like we went from Michael Keaton to Jake Gyllenhaal to an outstanding cast of villains for Spider-Man No Way Home. Like it was back to back to back, just A-listers. And now, I mean, we're at a point that like I think Sydney the girl Sink Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, I think she's the villain of Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm not totally
They're like
sure.
6 of them. They're like a lot.
Yeah.
So there's Tombstone.
Yeah.
There's Scorpion.
Yes, Scorpion is finally back.
Right.
We can answer this post-credit scene of this movie. Thank God.
Thank God. There's Tarantula.
Yes.
There's Boomerang.
I don't know much about him either.
There's
a lot
Ramrod.
of
There's Ramrod.
even from a character's perspective, like these aren't even B-list Spider-Man villains. These are like D-list Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
Like I like we went from Vulture to Mysterio to Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Lizard, Electro, Sandman to Tombstone's probably the biggest name on that list.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's more. There's Boomerang, there's Ramrod, there's the Jackal, and then of course there's the Hand, which obviously means Daredevil's going to be in here.
All right, that's a big question mark. I don't even because people are assuming the Hand is in it based off the trailer, and I don't know where this is headed. I don't. For me, that scene in that trailer looked like it almost felt like a dream sequence when I was watching. Like it just looked really weird. Like almost maybe like the CGI is weird on purpose. Maybe they're editing the movie a little bit weird, but it just looks, that whole scene looks odd to me.
And you know what? It could be. It could be because this movie is based on a comic where Spider-Man gets sick and dies, and a spider is reborn, or he's reborn. But essentially, what in the comics, the way they explain it is he was so enamored or captivated with the initial abilities that he was born with that he never took it to another level. So he's able to do things in this comic once he is, I don't want to say resurrected, but once he evolves into a second life. I think he ends up with claws that come out. He's able to see in the dark. Their abilities that manifest itself because I think the way they put it in the comic is you never let the spider roam. Like you kind of ran away from what you were in your nature instead of embracing it. And in this life, you need to embrace it. So you can very much see in the Brand New Day storyline, a part of it is him being sick, and he is going to have to go to Doctor Strange for some explanation or what have you. We've seen that the Punisher's in there, right? I believe Daredevil's going to be in there, but it could be one of those dream sequences where he's in between worlds and this is a vision that he sees. So you are right. But those are definitely hand ninjas that he's fighting in that movie. Dream sequence or not, those are hand ninjas.
Yeah, so the Hand is probably the biggest name now. But even then, like they're not really Spider-Man villains necessarily. They're like a lot of other characters villains. But for like Spider-Man to get involved, that tells me all I need to know that Daredevil is. I'm like 84% chance that Daredevil's in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I
think,
wait
a minute, not to cut you off. He goes to the Hulk.
Yes,
because he goes to the Hulk in the comics. So that's the Avengers tie-in. The Hulk is in this one.
Yes, but Tombstone from a Spider-Man perspective is probably the biggest name when it comes to the villains.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, like there are other big time villains that you could go with for Spider-Man. And it just feels like this, maybe they're just trying to aim for that street level. I love the fact that they're aiming for street level Spider-Man, and we're not no end of the world scenario, no multiverse scenario. It's just street level. Love it, because that's something we haven't gotten with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So we can finally get that. So it's just weird. So I mean, when we get into Michael Keaton's Vulture, like, I mean, you start to feel for this villain, and you don't even really see him as a villain. You're like, oh, we understand what you're doing. We just like, we don't want him to lose necessarily, but we feel like he has to because he's going down the wrong path. So, this, and I mean, after this movie, I had heard before I even saw this movie, I had heard from people saying that Michael Keaton's Vulture was the best Marvel villain ever. And I was like, whoa, slow your roll. Okay.
Slow your roll, buddy.
Then I saw it and I'm like, wow, up to this point, he was definitely one of the best Marvel villains of all time in terms of having a character that was relatable. And I think this is where Marvel found the blueprint. This, and it was back-to-back bangers with Black Panther and Spider-Man Homecoming, having a villain that was relatable and you understood what they were trying to do, but you didn't want them to win. You understood why, and you understood them, and that that led to a blueprint of finding villains that you could relate to. But then it also makes villains like when you have the Green Goblin come in and No Way Home, who are just straight up psychopaths, it makes them more villainous.
Right.
Because it's like there is no agenda for them. They just want chaos. And
some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yes. So I love this setup. We're relating to the villain, and especially since we've already seen Peter in Civil War, let's show the villain first and have us relate to the villain when we start this film.
No, agreed. So, boy, Peter begins tracking Toombs because he runs up on I think he runs up on some kids, and they're trying to make a deal where they're no. I think his first interaction is at the bank. They're trying to rob this bank, and they have on Avengers masks. And he shows up, and he's like, "Oh, I thought Thor was more handsome," or something like that. And he takes on these guys, and they debut their weapons, and they clearly don't know how to use them. Mm-hmm. They're not really prodigious in their use of them. So Spider-Man overcomes them, but during the battle, because someone loses control of the weapon, it blows up the bodega next door or the store next door. And although they are apprehended, it does cause damage. So now Spider-Man is like, all right, I need to find out where these weapons came from so we can get them off the street. So he begins tracking Toombs, but he makes some mistakes along the way. He interferes with the weapons deal. This escalates the conflict, and Stark. Well, anyway, this is what's going on. So, and there are a couple of themes of this movie. One is that Peter needs to be more mature. He needs to be able to communicate, and a lot of times he gets into things that he's not aware of. And a prime example is when he's taking the suit out for a test mode, and he's like, the AI is like, well, I can put you in advanced mode, and he's like, sure. And the suit goes activating instant kill, and he's like, wait a minute, I don't want to kill anybody. What are you doing? And he's like, and then the suit's like, well, there are 538 possibilities, and he's like, what are you doing? And the AI goes, well, you really haven't prepared for this. It doesn't seem like you're really comfortable with the, with the menu or whatever, or you essentially haven't done your homework, which as a 15-year-old, he just put on the suit and didn't think to himself, well, I probably need to prepare or study for this. He just got out there in it. But again, a large part of the charm of this movie is the humor at Peter just continuously making just messing up, right? Which all of us do, right? In anything you do, in anything you do. I mean, Jordan, I've been podcasting for darn near 3 years, but when I started, I didn't know any better. So there are mistakes that I made, unbeknownst to anybody else. They're just some things you just have to find out. You know what I mean?
One thing about the AI, real quick. Do you know who voices Karen, his AI?
Who?
Jennifer Connelly.
Really?
Yes. I actually I found out about that a couple years after this movie even came out. But yeah, Jennifer Connelly. Now Jennifer Connelly's been in a lot of different things. One of them, Labyrinth. And in terms of Marvel, she's also been in Hulk. She played Betty in the Hulk movie. We didn't review that because it's technically not connected to anything. But yeah, Jennifer Connelly played Karen. It's very interesting. Not a lot of people know that.
I did not know that myself. I did not know that. I was
It's also very random. Like Jennifer Connelly's a well-known actress, and she's playing an AI Karen.
Yeah, no, she is. I didn't know that, so that's interesting. But it's just it's funny at how he's trying to do it, and he's trying to do all of this and go to school, and he's just doing too much. He's clearly overwhelmed. He hasn't learned the tricks of the trade at managing your life and being a superhero. And you see this clearly in that, every time he makes an agreement to go somewhere with Liz, he has to leave, or, he shows up at her party, he has to leave. He shows up at the prom. Oh, I felt so bad for Liz. And I wanted him to tell her, but how can you tell her she's leaving and her dad is the Vulture, right? Which, interesting. In a side note, after the whole spoiler alert, he's caught and goes to jail. But in prison, this guy walks up to him and he's like, hey, I heard, rumor has it that you know who Spider-Man is. If you could just see it your way to give me the information, everything will be fine. And Vulture says to him, well, if I knew who he was, he'd already be dead. But I'm wondering to myself, why does he not give him the information there?
Because look, and this is why Adrian Toomes, this is why Michael Keaton's Vulture is a great character, because we do like him. He's a good person.
Right.
He's doing bad things to help his family.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, he just wants his family to be safe. He doesn't want Peter to get hurt.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, hey, he doesn't want this teenager to just get hurt just because.
For no reason, right.
So, and he understands that Spider-Man is doing things for the greater good.
Right.
So it's not like he's a good guy. So he's doing this for a good purpose.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. See, I felt like maybe he could use it later to his own advantage. Like I could be wrong. I could.
Now he can't. Now he can't because nobody knows who Peter Parker is.
Right. That's true.
Which would be very interesting. They could theoretically bring back Michael Keaton's Vulture and make him still a villain. And he would never know who Peter is.
Yeah. Or maybe they could do that in the one after Brand New Day, but yeah. I'm curious to see how that would play out. But anyway, there's a spelling bee not a spelling bee. It's a science. It's a debate. No, it's a science debate contest, right? It's a science team, right? Aren't they?
Yeah, they're a part of like the debate club or something like that. Yeah, it's like a debate.
The subject is science, is it? I thought
yeah.
It was. Okay, so they're a debate team. They debate science, whatever. But they have a debate matchup or whatever debate match, whatever you want to call it, debate against another high school. And Peter essentially says he can't go because he's got something to do with Tony Stark. And then he says he can go because now I guess he figures out this is where the weapons are, or this is where, he's trying to get to the the deal or the origin of the weapons, and this is where he needs to go. Um, and so he ends up flaking on that. So my point is that he let Liz down so many times that by the time everything comes out and her dad goes to jail and she's leaving just out of sheer embarrassment to go to another school, when he walks up to her to apologize, she's like, you apologize a lot. And he's like, I'm so sorry, your dad, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to another school. And as he continues to talk, she just walks off, And I felt so bad for them because that's like the one thing I didn't like about this. I know that they wanted MJ and Peter to get together, and they do. But I just felt like they could have thrown Liz a bone. You know what I mean? She really didn't get a chance. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole time they were setting up Liz for failure, basically. And the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, I know that Peter's gonna end up with either an MJ or a Gwen. Like either way, he's always gonna end up with one of the two. Mm-hmm. So how can we get rid of her? I was thinking that the whole movie. I'm like, I'm sure she's really nice. I'm sure she's really sweet. But how can we get rid of her? And then as soon as they make her dad the Vulture, everything clicked into place. Because the entire movie, I'm like, we got to be getting somewhere with something. And then that happens, and I'm like, wow. Like that's bravo. You shocked me with that. Another character that's in the Shocker. Shocker is also a bigger villain than any of the villains that I've heard in Brand New Day. No, like I liked Liz.
And there are two Shockers, by the way.
Yes, there's two Shockers. Yes. Look, I like Liz a lot, and but I do think her character was really set up for failure.
Yes.
Really, yes. Like going into this, they knew what they wanted. They knew they didn't want a stereotypical MJ or Gwen to start. And so they're like, all right, why don't we just like throw Liz? And Liz is a character in the comics. So it's not like it's just a made up character. So, I'm they knew what they wanted to do, I think, with the plot twist. So they were like, let's have a throwaway character.
Which is basically what Liz was.
Yes.
Agreed. And which is basically how they treated her. Yeah. Let's get into some of my favorite interactions. One of them is the character that's played by Donald Glover. He's basically trying to sell weapons. Again, he's trying to feed his family. I think his name is Aaron Davis, but Spider-Man shows up and he's like, put on the intimidated voice. And he's like, why are you trying to sell the weapons? And Donald Glover's like, or Aaron is like, you're new at this, huh? And he's like, I need to know, why are you trying to sell the weapons? And he's like, that's not your voice. You sounded like a girl the other day. And he's like, I am not a girl. I am not a girl. And it's funny because Aaron is having none of it. He's like, whatever. You know what I mean? And he's like, he turns the voice. He was like, activate. What do you call it? Deactivate interrogation voice. It's like, look, man, I'm trying to get the weapons, but that whole interaction was funny to me. Like, that was funny to me. And then Aaron is like, look, man, I don't want those weapons sold in my neighborhood either. And you did something that was heroic, something that he says that he did, and you didn't have to. So I'm going to tell you, this is where you can find this guy, and this is who he is or whatever. But just that interaction to me was funny. Give me your thoughts on that scene and what's going down.
What's crazy? There's so much that happens in this scene that flies over the majority of people's head. This guy, his character, Aaron, is the same guy who what the heck is his name?
Aaron Davis.
Aaron Davis.
The Prowler.
The Prowler, yes. So he's the same character as the Prowler, who and he mentions, I have a nephew here. The Prowler's nephew is Miles Morales.
Wow, I did not know that.
It was an immediate Homecoming introduced us to the fact that Miles Morales is in this universe. 100% confirmed.
Oh, I did not catch that. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
So when you go and watch Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse and you see this same the character in the Prowler suit in live action, while it's been confirmed they're not the same character, they're actually from two separate universes, this one and that one that got captured. But Miles Morales is there is a Miles Morales in this universe. There is a Miles Morales. When he says, I have a nephew, that means that is Prowler. That is the Prowler. We could get a Miles Morales movie.
I missed that. I totally missed that.
Yes. So this was huge. When I first heard this and he said, I have a nephew, that's all I needed to hear. I was like, Miles Morales. We have Miles Morales. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then for those who haven't watched the Into the Spider-Verse movies, they are great. Like I had never I don't remember the last time I went to see an animated film. I think it was like Finding Dory when I was bringing my little cousins to the theaters. But I never went to the theater specifically for animated films,
right?
But I did that for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I didn't go see. I saw Into the Spider-Verse on Netflix when it came out, and I had heard great things about it. I was like, fine, I'll go and watch this, and it was fantastic. It was my first. It wasn't my first time being introduced to Miles Morales because I had read the comics and I had known Miles Morales, but it also offered a different take on Miles Morales that I really enjoyed. Right. And it also introduced the Spider-Verse idea that it took the Spider-Verse concept and it made it so very enjoyable that I could see different Spider-Men crossover and stuff like that. And, I really hope in live action we do hear like Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man mention it at some point, because in Beyond the Spider-Verse, we do see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, which, I mean, you can connect it one way, but I don't know if it gets connected the other way. Mainly because Sony blows. Sony, you blow because you don't know how to communicate, okay? Anyways,
you blow.
This introduced so much in this small interaction. That one comment that he makes that says, I have a nephew in this neighborhood and I don't want these to fall in the wrong hands. I'm like, you are setting up Prowler. And in my opinion, if you're not going to do Tom Holland's origin story, do Miles Morales' origin story. Because that is a different take on Spider-Man, and that has not been done in live action. While it's a similar situation, it's not the same. And I would love if they introduced the Prowler and had Kingpin even in it in live action. Maybe make Kingpin like a Thanos level threat in terms of making him the background villain of the movie. Maybe have two villains in the movie like Prowler and someone else. But I mean, you can do a Miles Morales Spider-Man origin story in live action, and I would love to see that. That soundtrack with Into the Spider-Verse is so fantastic. I mean, I think about there's so much that movie makes me smile because there's so much that like Spider-Man represents, and I love that he wears like the Air Jordan 1s in his suit, like that he's just the part of like Peter Parker being Spider-Man is that anyone can be Spider-Man, and Miles just continues that, and I love that he makes Spider-Man his own thing, and he literally says that in Beyond the Spider-Verse. He says, "No, I'm gonna do my own thing," and I love that because that's exactly what Spider-Man is. That's what any Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-Girl, Spider-Boy, anything, they just do their own thing, and that's what I love because anyone can be Spider-Man. That's what makes Madam Web so bad, is that they try to make it this like, oh, it's a purpose thing, like it's the sole purpose. Like, no, anyone can be Spider-Man. But the issue is, and that's where it takes the line, with great power comes great responsibility,
Right.
to heart, because anyone can be Spider-Man, but it's what you do with being Spider-Man that truly makes you a great Spider-Man. And I love that with Miles. I would love if like I said, they didn't do the origin story with Tom Holland's Homecoming. Okay. They can 1 billion times make up for that by doing that with a Miles Morales origin story in a movie. And I would love for them to do that. In fact, I think, I'm going to throw this out there, I think when after post Secret Wars, it should be one of the first movies that they end up doing.
Repeat what you said, Jordan. I didn't hear you.
I think post Secret Wars, Miles Morales Spider-Man origin story should be one of the first movies that they do after Secret Wars.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, hey, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. But let's get back to this plot as to what's going on. So Peter uses Stark's advanced suit, relying too much on tech, and that's a common theme. I think one of the main themes of this movie is that it's not the clothes that make the man. It's the man that make the clothes. It's not the suit. And Tony even says it when he says, I need this suit. I'm nothing without it. And Tony says, and that is why you don't need it. And he's right. But
if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it. And
exactly.
I look at it, that is my favorite line of this whole movie. Because I look at every single superhero movie, Marvel, DC, anything, so much differently because of that one line.
Right.
Because I think to myself, if I take away your suit, if I take away your powers, what are you? And right. I just watched there's a show called The Boys last night. I watched, or on 2 nights ago, I watched. Yes. The new season is out, and a character says that to someone that without these powers, you're nothing. And I'm like, I immediately look back at this scene because I'm like, what would these that's what makes me look at certain characters differently. It's like I look at Thor completely different. If you take away Thor's powers, who is Thor? Like right. I don't look at him as in depth as I would Peter or Tony or any Captain America that we've ever had. Because there's more depth to those characters. And that's right. What I love about certain characters versus others. It's just they don't need the suit. And I love that line. That line is amazing. Is one of my favorite lines in the entire MCU.
And look, you're 100% right. And this is going to be a little on the nose, so I'm going to warn you. But it's like you and I have been doing podcasting for so long. If we woke up tomorrow and there was no podcast and no channel, you know what I mean? Who would we be? And it's funny because I was thinking this about 2 weeks ago. Like, wow, what if all of a sudden, like, we just couldn't do podcasts anymore? Like, and you know what? My conclusion was, well, life would go on. You know what I mean? I'm not going to kill myself and be like, I'm nothing without my podcast. I'm nothing without my channel. Now, would it sting? Yeah, it would sting a little bit because I enjoy this. This is fun. But to the point that it defines you, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's where the issue is. And I know people who, you know, they probably would just lose it if they woke up tomorrow and that, like, they would lose it. And that's what you have to guard against, in a scenario like this is that it's not the suit that makes you. It's not even your powers that makes you. It's who you are at the core. It's your integrity. It's those intangibles. And that's what this movie is about. And Peter figures that out eventually. But a large part of this movie is just him trying to do the right thing. And he really is trying to do the right thing. But he's just messing up left and right. And a large part of what happens with him is property damage. And nobody talks about this, but you know, if you are a superhero, a large part of your metric of success has to be how much calamity you avoid, right?
Mhm.
How much property damage you avoid. When Peter Parker goes to that neighborhood to find a man, he trounces about 5 or 6 different yards. Like State Farm is going to be busy the next day. You hear me? Like he just, you know, and then there's the thing with the ferry, and he's just messing up everywhere he goes because he's trying to figure it out. But you
And
gotta know. Go ahead.
you make a great point. I want to. It's a side note, but you made a great point. Like, who would be without podcasts? And it made me think about something. I watched a YouTuber earlier this week. Uh, Makes an apology video for just not being their authentic self and stuff like that. And I was just like, some. This is like a more of a statement to all content creators. Don't ever hang your hat on one thing.
Right.
Try to expand yourself.
Right.
And because I knew, like, when I went into Facebook, look, I started with Facebook, but I knew I needed to branch out because one day Facebook decided to just not exist. I didn't want everything to be gone.
Right.
And I wanted to go other places. So I went to Instagram. So I went to even stuff like Threads and Blue Sky. I go to Twitter X. I go to YouTube. And I don't and like I also say the same thing. If like what if something happened to football that we know that football doesn't exist.
Right.
There needs to be other avenues, baseball, basketball, hockey. That's what I expand to. That's why when COVID hit, COVID was it never affected me.
Mm-hmm.
It never affected anything I did, anything I posted. I continued a routine, and it was a great time. I mean, I met a lot of people doing that, and a lot of more people followed me because of COVID.
Right.
And because you never know when one day just something could just stop.
Right.
And you never know. It could be tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, look at what happened. Literally, COVID is a prime example. I tell people, look at what happened with the NBA. One day, we're all sitting in outside, drinking beers, watching the NBA. Then the next, we're inside for the next 6 months, and there's no sports on at all.
Right.
And I see a lot of content creators, which I've actually unfollowed since then, because they'll only focus on one thing. And look, I've spoken with a lot of people within the Madden community about this. I've since kind of like taken a step back from Madden. I haven't played it in a very long time. But I was very active within the Madden community and a lot of content creators, and those content creators just focused on Madden. And I thought to myself, what if one day Madden just stopped?
Right. What
Like,
are you going to do then? You're all out.
And that's where, as much as I have differences of opinions with this certain content creator, MMG is probably the biggest Madden content creator in the world. He has expanded to so many other things, to the point that he does podcasts. He does do basketball content. He partners with people for the NFL, for the NBA. He does other things. And that's my message to anyone who's getting into content creation, who is a content creator, that try to expand yourself.
Yeah.
And do other things.
Yeah.
Try to reach out to other people and try to expand your horizons, because you never know if you're relying on that one thing, and what if that one thing were to go away tomorrow? What would you do?
Right.
So that's what I've I always want to have. I'm like Batman. I want to always have a backup plan for something,
Right.
and so I always have a backup plan for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The question is, and look, there's some content creators like this person. I won't mention this person's name. This one content creator who has millions of subscribers, who issued this apology. I've talked with them for like 10 years. I talked with them 10 years ago, like one-on-one, and now they got millions of subscribers. It's actually amazing to see them grow.
Right.
And they said they're apologizing for not being their authentic self, and I'm like,
Right.
you don't need to apologize for anything. And
Mhm.
sometimes people need a break. And that is
Mhm.
one thing I will stress to anybody. Sometimes you need to take a mental break from
Yes.
all
Yes.
this.
100%.
And that's where a lot of people will go through the same routine over and over again, and eventually it'll get tired with not just you but also your followers, vice versa. It might get tired with your followers than you, and then you start not being your authentic self.
Right.
So sometimes you need to take a step back and say, what do I want to do?
Right.
What can I do to make myself happy? There was this
Right.
one girl who I followed. She did a lot of creepy, scary stories and myths and stuff like that. Look, I follow a whole bunch of different YouTube channels.
Clearly,
And
you do.
she's a fantastic YouTuber, and she did a lot of homework on a lot of her myths and cool, creepy stories and stuff like that. She's amazing, and she needed to take a break. And I was like, I'm so happy when a content creator can take a step back and realize I need to work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And she did. She took a step back and then went back into it. Some content creators never go back into it.
Right.
In the last month, I have watched 3 YouTube channels that I have been subscribed to for 6+ years disband completely. One came back later. One is not coming back at all. And the other is now married with kids. So that's my message to all the content creators out in this world, that like sometimes you need to take a break and don't hang your hat on one thing either. Try to branch out, open the door, or don't just sit on one thing. Open the door for other things, other opportunities, because you never know when they're going to arise.
You don't. And you make a great point, and that is in this life. And look, you and I are in the thick of it. We do this once, twice, shoot, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. sometimes hell, Jordan, I think sometimes I see you more than my kids. So, we do a lot, but we also have other lives. You've got your channel that's on Facebook, Old Legacy, with 100,000 or so subscribers or members or whatever. It's huge. Okay. It's a machine in and unto itself. I've got this, which is for my ATL movies. I've also got my sports channel, which is for my ATL Sports One. I also am on One Time for the Fan, and I'm starting other projects. But the point is, you got to take a moment to yourself, because sometimes you just don't have it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not that you don't have your fastball or your curveball. Sometimes your arm is just sore and you just need to rest. And that is true. But it's interesting in that, getting back to the theme of the movie, essentially they're saying, what this movie is about is being Spider-Man is first and foremost about who you are on the inside. Never lose sight of that. Do not lose sight of your morals. Do not lose sight of your integrity. Do not lose sight of why you're trying to do this. At the end of the day, you are a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and your job is to go out and protect your neighborhood and the boroughs. If you have some bigger issues and bigger conflicts, that'll come in time. But the core of what you do is friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I agree with that. You know what I mean? But we see Peter getting, time and time again, and the thing about it, and I think Iron Man takes the suit because he's warned Peter a couple of times. Hey man, if you have anything that you need to do, notify Happy, call Happy. And Peter says to Tony, but you don't listen to me because I warned you about this guy. You didn't listen to me, right? And he says, well, I did. That's why I called the FBI or whatever governmental agency that he called. Yeah, I think it was the FBI. But to Peter's point, they weren't adept to deal with it anyway. And I think the issue at this conversation is Iron Man is looking at it from, shit, man, we took on the Chitauri. We took on Ultron. These guys are nobody. But they're not nobody because they have weaponry that is far advanced beyond anybody's capability, and the FBI doesn't have that sort of weaponry, so they are outmatched. So it would be an Avengers level problem on some level, and Tony should have provided help sooner. Okay,
and that's what I love about that's why Spider-Man's my favorite, is that Spider-Man, no matter the problem, whether that is a neighborhood problem or a universe ending threat, will always be fighting against anyone. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what powers you got, he's always going to be fighting. And that's what I never really cared about. Like, I like Iron Man. Iron Man's not in my top 10 favorite Marvel heroes, mainly because he only really aims for those big time threats.
Right.
Global threats or threats to himself or the people around him. Instead of Spider-Man will always take the time, doesn't matter who it is, to save anyone. That's what I love about Spider-Man the most.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And
Tony was arrogant in that. Tony didn't understand, and that there's sometimes where Tony can be a little bit overbearing and an aggressive parent in his connection with Peter, but sometimes Peter will say something and he should probably listen. And I think Tony ends up learning that following this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that when he goes in Infinity War and Peter says, when Peter comes up into the spaceship and says, you can't save the neighborhood if there's no neighborhood, or something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
And Tony understands him in that moment.
Right.
He understands what he's trying to say.
And he goes back to, at least in his mind, that conversation. You're 100% right. You're 100%.
And that's one thing that Tony didn't understand. I think Tony had a learning lesson from that in this movie. And Peter's got to grow up a little, and he's the first conversation that they have where Peter thinks he's talking to Tony, but Tony's not actually there.
Yep.
I think that ended up just setting him up for failure when he said, if you were actually here, you'd be listening to me. And then Tony actually just pops out of the suit.
Yeah.
I think he just said, because Peter's probably if you actually did care, you would have been there.
Right. And I think that this shows that Peter is pissed from that initial interaction. I think when he's like, no kid, I'm in Italy or wherever the hell he was, and he sees the robot, I think that pisses him off. As a matter of fact, I think it would piss most people off, because when he does that, was it Iron Man 2 with Pepper Potts?
Iron Man 3,
or Iron Man 3.
Yeah, he does it in Iron Man 3.
Yeah. So people don't like that. So I think he did, and honestly, Tony doesn't realize this, but Peter looks at him like a father figure. Really looks at him like a father, because he doesn't have one. Let's be honest. He doesn't have one. So he really looks at him like a father figure, and Peter needs him.
Another thing about why I wanted an origin story We don't. We to this
We
day
don't
we don't know.
know.
We're probably
We
not going to
don't
know
know.
in brand new day.
Right.
Where's Uncle Ben?
Right. We have no
Where's
idea.
Not even a single mention of Uncle Ben. You only once in the entire MCU, actually twice in the entire MCU has the name Uncle Ben been mentioned once or twice. That happened in No Way Home when Andrew Garfield said Uncle Ben said it when he said with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And then it was also said in What If Zombies, the episode of What If, where that Spider-Man says, when Uncle Ben died. I'm like, thank you, someone mentioned him.
Right.
Because it's like I've heard Satan mentioned more than Uncle Ben. Like, oh my, like say it once. And also it makes No Way Home a little confusing because look, Uncle Ben is normally the one to say with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
In No Way Home, that was left to Aunt May. I love that twist and that turn in the whole situation, but it also makes me think, who was Uncle Ben to this Peter Parker?
Right.
Was he close to him or was he not close to him? Because I genuinely don't know.
No. Yeah.
And again, this is a very different Peter Parker than both Andrew and Toby's that I would love to see an actual origin story for. But yeah, again, Tony Stark is basically playing the Uncle Ben sort of role in this franchise, I guess. It's just again very weird. I would have liked to have seen an origin story for this Peter Parker. I don't think we'll ever get that. We were supposed to get an animated version of that with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I have yet to watch that actually, because they ended up retconning that. They said it was supposed to be an origin story, but because then they introduced a whole bunch of different issues that I'm like, okay, this would mean that all this other stuff is wrong in Homecoming and Far From Home. So then they were like, no, this actually takes place in a completely separate universe. And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't have an origin story. I would have liked to have gotten that maybe in animated form, but I guess not.
Yeah, well, but this culminates in Spider-Man going to the ferry and trying to stop the deal that's going down. And it just becomes a horrible mess because Adrian Toomes brought his suit with him and he's like, no problem. And Peter procures the weapon. So he prevents the sale, but in procuring the weapon goes off and just destroys the ferry. And you really see Peter's inexperience with situations like this and what to do. He probably shouldn't have engaged those guys.
Yeah.
Or he probably should have followed them. Like whatever he did, he just should have done it differently is the bottom line. Because thank God that Iron Man was nearby. Thank God that Iron Man did know where he was, because if not, that ship's going down. Like, he does the web grenades and pulls everything together. And then, of course, the guy's like, yay, Spider-Man. And one of them pops and is like, oh, God, what's about to happen? And, hey, man, Iron Man shows up. Tony Stark shows up and saves the day. But at this point, Peter's on thin ice with him. It's like, okay, bud, you're grounded. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and I'm a parent and I've been there and you were already on thin ice. But you know what? Nah, man, you gotta, I'm taking your phone, okay? Indefinitely, I'm taking your phone. But instead of a phone, it's the suit. And Peter's like, well, I'm nothing without the suit. And it's such a dead moment.
I hated that Peter said that too. Because Peter knows he shouldn't have said that. Peter, of all people, of all the characters in Marvel, should have never said that line. Like,
well, he shouldn't have, but this is teenage Peter, right? This is impressionable. He's 15, and he's a guy, which means emotionally he's like 12. Okay, so
that's always made Peter. That's what always made Peter that much better of a compared to other Marvel characters at that age. Peter is far beyond anyone else in terms of just his morals, especially his morals, his intelligence, everything. And just for him to say that, I was like, I felt like he was not like 14 or 15 or 16 there. I felt like he was like 8 years old. Like, that's something I would expect 8-year-old Peter Parker to say. Not that age Peter Parker. I would expect Tony Stark at that age to say that. I would expect like Steve Rogers. I would expect Thor. I would expect Loki. I would expect Hawkeye. I would expect like any of those other characters to say that at that age.
Well,
Peter's
Go
probably
ahead.
the only character that I would have been like I understand him saying that, and I think he got a little too privileged with his suit in that like he was using the suit to his advantage. So, but he is not nothing without that suit, and he should have known that. He should have thought like to himself, look at what you were doing pre-Civil War, bro, before this suit. Look at how what you were doing, saving people and like stopping buses and stuff like that. Like, are you joking me? Like, you're kidding, right? So, I don't. Of all characters, that's the last character I think I would have liked to have heard that said from is Peter Parker.
No, I hear you. And you know, if this were 20-year-old Peter Parker, this dude's 15, man. Okay. And I think this is a more realistic portrayal because that's what a normal 15-year-old would look at. Peter's at, you've seen the original suit. You go from that's like this, Jordan, right? We've all been 15, right? Let's say you're driving a car that's 25 years old, okay? And all of a sudden Tony Stark comes on and is like, hey, kid, and he gives you a brand new Ferrari, a 2026 Ferrari, okay? And let's be real, okay? I would say you're reasonably attractive, pause, you know, and you probably do all right with the ladies, but you're going to do a whole lot better, a whole lot better. A whole
I don't think I need the Ferrari.
Okay? Just saying, you're going to do a whole lot better with the Ferrari. And let's say Tony comes back and is like, hey, man, I need the car because you're out Jordan riding and you've gotten 3 tickets and you know what I mean? How are you going to respond, Jordan?
I don't need the Ferrari. That's what I would say.
I'm nothing without the Ferrari.
You can give me a scooter bike. I don't care. I'll still make it work.
Yeah, whatever. Well, you know what? I love you. I respectfully disagree because 100% of a Ferrari, bro. You gonna be
Ferrari, Bugatti. I don't know. Google,
bruh. You would be like, I'm nothing without the Ferrari.
If you're nothing without the Ferrari, then you shouldn't have the Ferrari.
And you're right. But that's what any normal 15-year-old would say. I'm just saying.
I'm better than a Ferrari.
Whatever. Okay. I know. Look, I know that at 55, but at 15, 40 years ago, man, get up out of here. If she don't like me at my lowest, then she won't like me. I don't care to have her as my best. Jordan. Whatever. I'm gonna call BS.
If you don't
whatever.
Like with my nice scooter bike that was handed me down from my great grandfather, then you ain't gonna like me in my 37 Bugattis.
Whatever. I respectfully
she ain't for me.
Disagree.
She ain't for me then. She ain't for me.
She, bro, you're gonna have she's plural.
They ain't for me.
Whatever. Hey, okay, whatever. But look, I don't agree. I think 50-year-old Joe would be like, hell no, I'm not giving you back this car. Hell no. No.
Bugatti, Ferrari, Lambo, it doesn't matter.
Man, whatever. That's how most 15-year-olds would respond. So I get it. But they do have I don't want to say they fall out, but he kind of puts Peter in timeout, and Peter's like, okay. And, you know, to Peter's credit, he shows up and he's trying to stop him anyway. And he goes to take Liz to the prom. And this is what hurt my heart. Okay. Because I really want Peter to have a good night. I really do. I want him to have a great night. I want dinner to be great. You know what I mean? I want him to take her back. Like, I want him to have a great experience. And it's just not in the cards. And he's riding with Liz and her dad. And Liz runs her mouth. Oh my God, she runs her mouth. He's like, yeah, I've been to your house and it was very nice. And she was like, how would you know? You were only there for 5 minutes. As a matter of fact, everywhere we go, you always leave. And you know, her dad is like, oh, really? And you can see the gears and the levers are turning in his brain like, okay, well, everywhere this guy goes, he leaves, and he pretty much knows Spider-Man, and okay, and you can see it, right? And she just won't shut up. She goes on and on about it. And I'm watching this like, Liz, shut up. Shut up, Liz. Stop talking. You're putting this business out there. And she's oblivious because she doesn't know he's Spider-Man. She literally doesn't know what's going on. She's just talking, and bless her. You know what? There's a Southern term, Jordan. It's bless your heart, and it's not a compliment.
Bless your heart.
Okay? if you ever hear anybody from the South say bless your heart, and they say it that way, bless your heart, that is not a compliment.
It's not. I know. Oh, I know.
That is not a compliment. And that's what I want to say to Liz in this moment. Like, shut up, Liz. You're putting it all out there. And she's just talking and talking and talking. And he figures it out. And he and Peter have this moment before she gets out of the car. And I'm like, oh, snap. Oh, boy. Oh, here we go.
What's crazy is John Watts does a great job in the scene of the cinematography. And the cinematography is okay throughout this whole movie, but there's one time that I'm like, wow, this is crazy. When they're at the red light and there's red over Michael Keaton's face from the light, and it shifts to green as soon as he says, good old Spider-Man, as if to say that it clicked in his head.
At
this
that moment
is Spider-Man at this very moment.
Yes.
And I was like, that is such a great job of color coordinating.
Yep.
And it doesn't really, I mean, a lot of people just don't overlook it, but it's like, oh crap, this guy knows now. Look, this whole scene, when he opens that door, I just remember thinking, I'm uncomfortable. I was more uncomfortable in this than Infinity War.
Right.
At all in Infinity War, I'm like, awkward. I'm going to slide down in my seat now. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. No one wants to be here. I don't want to be here. I want to be in my room with my blankie, with my pillow, with my pillow pet, with my dogs, my cats, my zebras. I want to be alone and watching SpongeBob or Dora.
I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here at all. I want to be comfortable in my safe zone.
No, I was uncomfortable when he opened the door, but when she got out of that car, I'm telling you, I felt like I was 7 years old and I was in trouble with my dad, not my mom. Because my mom, you could talk with her. My dad, boy, that ass was hit. Boy, you and I felt like my mom was getting out the car, and I was just like, ooh. I just wanted to sink down and melt. And he says, hey, honey, you go ahead in, and I'm gonna have the dad talk with Peter. And she's like, okay, oblivious to what's going on. And that she just sold Peter down the river, damn it. So she gets out and he says, hey, man, I respect the fact that you saved my daughter's life, so I'm going to give you a pass. I'm going to save your life. But if you get in my business, I am going to kill you. And this is the difference between Vulture and any other villain. He's not going to kill just to kill, but if you're getting in between his business, which is the way that he can provide for his family, he's going to kill you. And he tells Peter this, hey, man, I will kill you. And Peter doesn't have the suit that he had with Tony Stark. He's got the suit that he started out with. And so this has to be a little intimidating to Peter. Okay? This has to be a little intimidating. But Peter's like, okay. And then he's so arrogant in this moment. He's like, and what do you say, Peter? And Peter's like, thank you. Which I thought was hilarious. You arrogant bastard. You're going to get me to thank you for not killing me, for stopping you from doing the wrong thing. Jesus, man, you are lost. But I thought it was funny. Jordan, give me your thoughts on this scene, man. I thought that was funny, but go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
It's just so uncomfortable this whole entire time, from the moment he opened that door to the time he walks out of that car. I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I just want this all to end right now. It's just so uncomfortable because it's not. Look, all right, I've never, I just being in that situation. Just like in general, forget about the fact that he's Spider-Man. Forget all about him being Spider-Man. This was literally anyone going to pick up their, I mean, they're not boyfriend and girlfriend now, but their date.
Right.
For a homecoming.
Right.
And meeting their parents, taking photos. That's a generally awkward thing. And then having her dad drive you guys there. That's awkward in general.
Yes.
So there's already a level of uncomfortable.
Right.
Already there.
Right.
Then there's the whole other fact
that
this dude's Vulture, this dude's Spider-Man.
Right.
And it's a whole level of, there's so much going on that you're like, I need to just step out and go somewhere else.
Want to get away?
You guys figure this out, and I'm going to be over here. And they just play it off so great. They like, this is such a great scene, and Michael Keaton delivers some of the best acting
he's
from him, and
he is perfect.
He does so great in this role. He
does.
does so great being like, because all right, we all love Michael Keaton because of his like performance as Batman, and among other things, but so we already like him, and going into this movie, we know he's the villain, and we know he's doing these things, these bad things, for a good reason. So it's like, we're like, okay, like I really like you, but please don't hurt me. It's one of those things, and Peter just doesn't fully, he doesn't even fully understand why he's doing this.
Right.
And I don't know if he ever does until he has that conversation with him in the car.
Right.
And look, I think Peter probably played that as calmly and as smart as he could. Just saying, yes, sir, no, sir, thank you. And like playing dumb and stuff like that. And he never like admits to anything.
Right.
So, but yeah, this whole interaction, and it makes the decision that Peter has to make when he leaves the car that much more important for the rest of the movie. It's like,
and a harder decision.
Do I go with my friends to Homecoming, or do I go and stop this guy?
Right.
And ultimately, he makes the Spider-Man move. Because
and let's go back to your point, right? Let's go back to your point, because there was no origin story. We don't have a reference point where he did that earlier and it caused the death of Uncle Ben. We don't have that. We don't have that foundation to fall back on.
Yes.
So you're right. In this instance, he does make the right decision, but it is lacking in the fact that, okay, we don't know. Why does he make this? Because he's 15. So has he done this before, right? And it backfired on him. He does make the right decision, but why? And we don't have that. And that's a very good point you make. But he does make the decision, and I felt so bad for Liz, because I'm like, oh man, you know what? I gotta tell you a story, Jordan, and you gotta promise not to hate me. You gotta understand this was 16-year-old Terry or 17-year-old Terry. But anyway, I dated this girl in high school. and I really did her bad.
Hold on.
And
Does Kim know about this?
no, Kim was after high
Oh
school. So.
man.
Ironically, her
No, does Kim know about this story?
she does not. I don't think she'd care.
No.
I don't think she'd care. This is high school. But anyway.
Kim.
Oh, you bastard. Oh, wow. See, it's the ones closest to you, man. It's the ones closest to you, I tell you. But
I'm helping her so that I can help you.
This was 40 years ago. I don't even know.
I'm still helping her so that I
right.
can help you.
Okay. Yeah. You're helping her to get me to sleep on the couch. I got it. I get it. I understand. But anyway, I dated her, and then I'd break up with her and go. I'd see a girl I'd like, and then I'd take her out and go, and then I wouldn't like her, and then I'd go back to her, and she'd take me back, and then I'd break up with her again. And I did this about 3 or 4 times. I did. I was bad. So if you're out there and if you're watching this, you know who you are. I apologize. I do. I was a jerk. I can admit that I was a jerk, but
he does.
Just looking at that, I felt so bad for Liz because it's like, you're doing this again, Pete. You're doing this again.
You're doing this again, T. Will.
I did for like a moment. I did. I can see myself in that. I was like, you're doing this again, bro. Come on, man. What are we doing? I mean,
her friends were like, "Oh no, she's doing it again."
Let me tell you something, man. That person probably hadn't thought about me in years. This is like 40 years ago, bro. 38 years ago, whatever. So,
or she has one of those dolls that pins in. I hate you, Terry. I hate you, Terry. I hate you, Terry. I hate you, Terry.
Oh, that's funny.
Watch the Eternals. Funny. Watch the Eternals. Watch the Eternals. They probably sit in front of a VHS tape of Eternals. Watch that 24/7. Watch this horrible movie with me.
Stop it.
You know what? It's not that bad.
I got a headache. Okay.
This entire recording's gone off the walls.
Yeah. I gotta cut like half of it out. Oh my god.
Nah, okay. We'll be good.
So where the hell are we? Okay, so yeah, Peter comes in. Don't you say a word, George. Peter comes in, and the look on Liz's face is like, not again. And he's like, I'm so sorry. And it's like, oh, she just wants to punch him. And he has to leave, and he runs out the back door, and Shocker's waiting on him like, yep. He said,
boom, you looking for this?
Bam. And Shocker basically kicks his rear, and they get after it, and he is saved by Ned. Okay. Ned, I guess Ned found his web shooter or whatever and saved him at the last possible moment, and he's able to go on and go after Vulture. And the coolest part about this sequence is he rolls up on Flash as Spider-Man. Flash is such a punk because Flash has been bullying him the entire time. Oh, Peter, where's Spider-Man? At the party, he's the DJ and he's clowning Pete. Oh, wait, there's no Spider-Man. Like, just a jerk. Flash is a jerk. So the fact that Peter or Spider-Man, Spider-Man rolls up on Flash and is like, hey man, I need your car. And he's like, well, Mr. Spider-Man. And then in the next scene, we see him like walking with the girl. I thought that was great. I got a lot of satisfaction out of that. I felt like he deserved it. And yeah, so I thought it was great. And the fact that he wrecked Flash's parents' car, just a sweet bonus. Give me your thoughts on that scene, sir.
Oh, that was awesome. I mean, the entire time Peter's trying to like do interrogation mode and stuff like that. And, you know, Peter has that like whiny voice and stuff like that. That's what makes this such a great Spider-Man is that like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were older in their roles, so their voice
Right.
was a lot deeper.
Right.
And like Tom Holland was not that old when he was doing this, so like just having that whiny voice, that's what he had to go through. So like finally in this moment, he's like, all right, let's just put on a more deeper voice and be like, Flash, I need your car. Like I like that. I like it. You know what? It's a small, satisfying moment that I was glad happened. Small victories.
Small victories. That's what they are. And Peter shows up at the warehouse, and Vulture's like, well, Peter, you know what? I got to give it to you. You got grit. You know, I didn't understand what it was that, you know, Liz saw in you, but I see it now. You definitely have grit. It's unfortunate because I'm going to have to kill you like I said I would, but I gotta respect it. I can't do anything but respect it. And they get after it. And what a fight. What a scene. I enjoyed this sequence. To me, one of the best sequences of the film. I really enjoyed it. But give me your thoughts on the battle, the showdown, the fact that you know, Peter and oh, okay. And so after the battle, and it's funny because he's talking and he's like, yeah, you know, da 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 da, and he's monologuing, and Pete's like, yeah, well, you know, you can talk all you want, but it's not going to stop what's going on. And he's like, oh no, 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 I understand what you're saying, but I'm just buying time. And all of a sudden, his wings show up, and he attacks the pillars or the foundation of the building and brings it down on Peter, right? And in this scene, I really believe this is where Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man.
Yes.
Because it's just him. He's got this mountain of concrete on him, and he can't get out. And he almost wants to cry. And he's like, he halfway screams for help, like, I need help. I need somebody help. Get me out of here. And finally, you see him just go, you know what? I'm going to get myself out. And he pushes with all his might and gets himself out of it. And at that point, you see he's like, no, I'm gonna do this on my own. I'm gonna resolve this on my own. I'm gonna fix this. And he goes after Vulture, but this time he's not going after Vulture as Peter, the neighborhood Spider-Man. He's going after Vulture as Peter, the man who happens to be Spider-Man, and he's expecting to win.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Throughout all of the conflicts in this movie, I wouldn't say that we would say Peter was expecting to win. But in this moment, when he's going after him, he's like, look, I've conquered this. There's nothing you can do to me. He's expecting to win here. And I think that's the difference. And he goes after him. They have the showdown on the plane where basically this is it. This is the, you know, Vulture is going for all of the equipment on there because it's going to give him millions, and he's going to get out of the game and be able to take care of his family. And Peter, this is actually Tony Stark's plane that's flying his equipment to the new Avengers headquarters. And if Happy would have just listened to him, it wouldn't have happened. But whatever. And hey, man, they get into this conflict, and it is what it is. I've talked way too much. Give me your thoughts on this conflict and what's going on here.
Well, I love the scene like in the building when the building collapses on him and Peter. There's a specific moment in each first movie for each of the Spider-Man where I'm like, yeah, like this guy is Spider-Man. For Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it was probably the moment there's so many moments. That first movie is so iconic, and there's so many different moments I could pinpoint to. Him saving MJ, and the whole rain sequence. Him just, at the end, like attacking the goblins, saving the New Yorkers, and saving Mary Jane. For me, with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, it was the bridge scene and saving that kid. And for me, with Tom Holland, this was the moment where I'm like, this guy's Spider-Man. Like I truly believe like this guy is a good Spider-Man. Like he you know, he's like, again, he's young, so he's like he's calling for help. Someone help me. And it's straight out of the comics because there's a scene and you can look at the comic panel where he's looking in the water at himself, and he's like, "Get up, Spider-Man! Get up, Spider-Man!" And it's such a empowering moment for like, yeah, this guy is like, this is the moment where he takes the leap into becoming Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like he may have been wearing the suit this whole time, but this is the moment where it doesn't matter what the suit is. Like he's gonna wear it and he is Spider-Man.
Right.
So getting into the final fight, a little, I wouldn't say anticlimactic. There's not a lot of action happening.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with Vulture's a really big dude, and Spider-Man, I mean, he's a smaller guy compared to the wings and stuff. But also like cool visuals, like when Peter's like almost knocked out, and Vulture like carries him with his wing thing and like shows him off, and there's cool visuals there. The whole plane sequence to crash the plane is really cool. But I mean, it's interesting that like Peter, even throughout this whole time, he just wants to save people. And the one time he sees that Vulture's suit is going to explode, and he's trying to pull him away, saying, "I'm trying to save you."
Right.
Like he's just trying to save. That is what I love about Spider-Man. It doesn't matter who you are, he will do his best to save you.
Right. He's not going to kill you.
Yeah. And I love this whole sequence. And I mean, Vulture ends up being defeated by his own hands.
Yeah. Well, by his own greed, right?
Yeah.
By his own greed.
And that's what makes it a satisfying ending, is that like Spider-Man didn't win more as Vulture lost. Like Vulture did this on his own, and he deserved to go out like this because he started making things bigger than his family and started getting greedy. And so that's where this was a very satisfying conclusion and final fight for this film.
I mean, yeah. And you know what's interesting? It's the perfect time, because if Brand New Day Spider-Man takes on Vulture, he's going to clean his clock. Yeah. It's not even going to be close. But he caught, you know, sometimes it's like boxing. It's when you catch the guy, right? Mm-hmm. If if he doesn't have a lot of experience and he doesn't have a lot of savvy, you can beat a guy that when he's in his heyday, or when he's in his prime, you may not have a chance, right? And I think this is the case for Vulture. But again, even in him saving that, it reminds me of something else, and that's when he's talking to Aaron Davis, and he webs him and sticks him to the car, and he's like, "Yeah, that you'll be able to leave in 2 hours." And he was like, "You can't leave me like this." And it was like, "You're a criminal. You deserve this. You'll be all right. 2 hours, 2 hours. Okay, thanks, criminal." And then he runs off. And I thought that was funny. But anyway, I enjoyed this, man. I really thought this was well done. I thought this movie was akin to when we first see Daredevil being portrayed on the Netflix series. It is so true to the character. Like, again, he may not be your favorite Spider-Man, but if I'm being honest, this is as close to year one Spider-Man as I've ever seen. So I really enjoyed this film. I really did. I kind of labored back and forth over what I wanted to give it. Mm-hmm. I'm still kind of laboring back and forth over what I want to give it. I know what I want to give it, but then I'm doing but you gave this, and you gave this, that, and you gave this.
Swear to God, if you give this an 8 out of 10, man, I'm probably gonna yell. I'm gonna tell Kim that you're sleeping on the couch.
Oh wow! Wow!
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, I can't give this 8 out of 10. I cannot.
I better not see a single 8 out of 10 for the rest of this whole.
I can't promise you that, sir. I'm gonna give this, in all seriousness, I'm gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm gonna put it below Iron Man, but above Daredevil season 2. And I wrestled with whether or not I wanted to give it a 9. Ultimately, I settled on 8.5, but I kind of wanted to give it a 9. But I don't like it better than season 1 of Daredevil. I do like it, but I don't like it better than season 1 of Daredevil. And because of that, I got to give it an 8.5 out of 10. So I have no idea what you're going to give. I know you love Spider-Man. I know you do. And I know you love the character and you're all about the purity of the character.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind's eye, I want to say that you would give it a 9 out of 10, but for some reason, I just don't feel like it's going to be that kind of day. So I'm going to say you're going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. I'm going to back into it, but let me know your thoughts. What are you giving this movie?
Well, all right, let me talk real quick about the conclusion of this film because it's small, but it really sets up Iron Man and Spider-Man for Infinity War.
Yep.
In that, like, Tony sees what Peter does, and a lot of it is Happy really relaying that to Tony. Like Happy's more of like, we see that Happy ends up being a sort of also an Uncle Ben type figure to
right
Peter by the end of this film, in that like him and Tony are like, yeah, like this he's a good kid. And Tony tries to give him the Iron Spider suit, which when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, we're going to get the Iron Spider suit. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Which, all right, if you're going to have Iron Man making your suits, you 100% had to have that suit. So a lot of people don't like the suit. I like that we got it at all. I just wish, it had to show up in Endgame because it was showed up in Infinity War, so it makes sense. But those are the only 2 times I wish we saw it. And then, he's like, no, I'm good. I'm just okay being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like Tony's going to introduce him as a member of the Avengers.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad that Peter said no. Because it opens the door up for him, because otherwise I don't think Brand New Day happens where he can be a street level character. I don't think you can have that happen at all. So it's a great way of, and we see Pepper Potts finally for the first time in a million years. For Sony, it was probably like 12 years, but because they can't count. But I mean,
20 years in dog years. It was 20 years in dog years.
Tony and Pepper get engaged in that moment, and it's
great.
like, oh, okay, they get engaged. Wow.
Great.
Then Peter gets his suit back, his original suit back that he got from Tony. He puts it on, thinks nobody's home, and then Aunt May sees him and is like, and then cuts off. Which I love that these movies do that, where it's like, what the, and it just cuts off. We go to the end credits. I love that. I wish we had gotten that for No Way Home, but I love the ending in No Way Home either way. But it's also opens the door up of like, oh, Aunt May knows. This is the first time that we are seeing live action that Aunt May knows Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Yep.
So very interesting. So it sets up a lot of different things for Far From Home and just future films in general. But yeah, I love this ending. Then obviously we already talked about the end credit scene with like Scorpion and stuff like that, which now gets resolved in Brand New Day. Finally, it only took like 10 years.
Only 10. That's it. Not that long. Only 10.
Yeah. But getting to my rating, I like this movie a lot. It's Spider-Man. This is a true solid adaptation. It's not an origin story, which is where I'm just like, this is my first introduction to this character in his own film. I do feel like Iron Man was kind of carrying him a little bit. I don't like when people call him like Iron Man Jr. I don't like that. Because I do feel like Peter inherently in this movie proves that he's not.
Mhm.
So, but I also am on the opposite end. That's like, I do think Iron Man felt like a little bit of a crutch, and I felt like just in general, it felt like Iron Man was a sort of a crutch throughout the Avengers, Civil War, and a little bit of Far From Home. Even though Tony's not there, it felt like he was still kind of there in spirit as a crutch. But it wasn't until No Way Home that felt like that crutch got pushed aside. Um, so but otherwise, I like this film. I think it's really good. I like the humor in it. I like the quips. I like this is authentic Spider-Man. Um, I don't necessarily. I don't think there's anything about this movie that's like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. Outside of really the plot twist, I think the plot twist that Vulture was Liz's dad is
Mhm.
insane, and I
Mhm.
love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it
But
was.
otherwise, I think this is a really good film. I would recommend this. I recommend this to a lot of people. I recommend my little cousin. He's only 2 years old now. My aunt is constantly messaging me about Marvel shows and movies to watch. I got him watching Spider Man and the original trilogy and stuff, and I was like, I think he'd love Homecoming. Like, I think if I'm introducing Spider Man to a little kid, I think Homecoming is one of the first Spider-Man films that I will introduce them to because it's not dark and it's very light and bright and colorful and quippy and like it is a fun movie. But I think there's a lot of things that it just doesn't attack from a depth perspective. It's more like straightforward
Mhm.
stuff. So that I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Um,
Ah!
yeah.
Okay. That was
Very
right.
similar spot to where you have it. I also have it below Iron Man.
Okay.
I also have it below Deadpool, and I also have it below the Defenders.
Okay.
Mainly, I think there was the higher stakes in the Defenders, and I love the team work in that. I love team centered stuff like that. I think Deadpool is a very different origin story. Again, look, notice how the origin stories are a little higher.
Mhm.
I think if this were an origin story,
It might
might
be a
have been
9.
higher.
Yeah, it
Might have
might.
been a 9.5.
Ah.
Like I just I like this movie a lot. It's not one of the first Spider-Man movies that I will put on. I ooh, even in ranking this, like of all the Spider-Man movies that we've reviewed so far, this would be my third highest Spider-Man movie that we've reviewed so far, and
Mhm.
it does drop to like 4.
Mhm.
It gives you it. I'm gonna put it straightforward to you. Spider-Man No Way Home is one of my favorite films of all time.
Mhm.
So this is my Homecoming's my fourth favorite Spider-Man film, live action Spider-Man film. I like it a lot. It's just there are other films that I would rather watch than
Mhm.
this, but there's also a lot worse films than this. This is a
Yeah.
good spot for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And I like I love where the character ended up going after this.
Okay. That's fair. That is fair. And hey, man, I love the movie as well. I agree with you. We both gave it a 9.5. I think that's great. I guess where we just disagree is I feel like this version of Peter, who is 15 and clearly immature in this big bad world where there are real dangers,
Mhm.
I think he sorely needed Tony Stark. I
Oh,
think
he did,
yeah,
but
I think he needed a father figure. I really
he
do.
did.
So I don't, I love that dynamic. And again, if if this were if this were younger me, I'd probably be like, oh, it's Iron Man Jr. But older me, I can see where, he really did need a dad. You know what I mean? He really did
Yes,
need, and not only
that
that, but
yes.
somebody who's a superhero and knows the arc of it and what he's going through and can help him out. And so
that's where I agree with the first half.
Yeah.
Because inherently every Spider-Man's first movie is someone to look up to.
Correct.
And for the first two, it was Uncle Ben. And not having Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben was supposed to be that person.
Right.
And I think Tony being in this, it makes this Spider-Man is so much more privileged than the other two. So inherently, I feel like I'm pulled back completely. I'm pulled back a little from this Spider-Man. Like the other two are doing all of their things on their own.
Right.
And that's one thing with this Spider-Man is like, I do like that I see him making his webs at school and stuff like that. But I felt like I didn't know just how smart this Spider-Man was because I saw how privileged he was.
Right.
And so that's why I love No Way Home a lot. And that's probably why I think I'm really going to enjoy Brand New Day.
Well, go ahead.
Because he's going to be pulled back and put into that style that Toby and Andrews were, where it's like, it's just him. And I love that. I know the Punisher's going to be in it. I know the Hulk's going to be in it. That's him using his resources. I don't think they're going to be I think he might end up fighting the Hulk in that. I think he might be fighting Grey Hulk, which is going to be freaking awesome. But I'm glad that he's no longer Spider-Man in the comics goes through so many different arcs, and there are times where he's with the Avengers and he's got a lot of fun stuff to use and toys and stuff. So I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
So now we can get into real deal Spider-Man stories. So I'm really looking forward to this movie, especially after No Way Home.
No, I agreed. It's just, again, looking at it, I can appreciate him having a father figure. I can because he sorely needed it. And you know what? When I was young, because I've been a Spider-Man guy from knee high to a gnat, so I remember reading Spider-Man graphic novels, right, with big books like that. And I remember it. But at the time I'm reading it, I'm 15. So his actions as a 15-year-old he would totally do what I would do. But now that I'm older, right, and I'm a dad myself, I can look at it and go, maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't have. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I understand that. But anyway, hey man, enjoyed it. We have Punisher season 1 tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Which was great.
I love the Punisher.
Yes. It's very, very well written, very well written, very true to form. Truly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to get into it, brother. So to everyone who did join us or will join us to see this, we want to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching it, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, concerns, comments, hey, let us know. You can drop a comment. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let us know how you feel about it. If you like it, let us know. If you don't, let us know. Either way, we'll listen. And hey, this could be the start of something beautiful. So thank you for watching this. We appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow. And you guys have a great night. Thanks, everybody. Peace. This movie was about...
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. highlighting the magic of a soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the